Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Commodity TV and a new episode of our online TV interviews here today from Austria. And we want to talk to Phil Williams, the CEO of IsoEnergy. Of course, first of all, an update from the company, but also an insight into uranium markets, because uranium, it looks like we are in front of a storm price-wise. Good morning to Canada. How are you, Phil?
I'm well, thanks. Good morning to you, Jochen.
Thank you very much. Also fine. Yeah, let's start directly here. IsoEnergy, great company. I'm a shareholder of the company. I want to disclose that also upfront. Before we start with exploration programs and your summer program, I want to go directly into your probably or hopefully, soon producing mines like Tony M, Rim, Sage, Plain, Daneros, etc. So what is the status there? Because it looks to me like probably next year that could really start.
Yeah, look, so we're very busy down in the United States. Those mines you mentioned, of course, are in Utah, which recently, by the way, got ranked by the Fraser Institute the #1 mining jurisdiction in the world.
Mhm.
And particularly at Tony M, we have a team on site right now reopening that old mine. So again, just as a background, those three mines were all in production in the bull uranium market of 06, 07, 08. They shut down due to low prices. But importantly, all of the permits were kept in good standing. And so we're, in fact, now days away from reopening the portal and getting our team underground for the first time in that mine in over a decade.
Okay, so what production scenario you would say would be possible? I know it's maybe a little bit too early, but what could we expect? Is it more something like, let's say 500,000 to 1,000,000 pounds? What could we expect? And especially, what will you do with the money then to develop further?
Yeah. So what we're doing, the work programs that we're doing right now, Jochen, are in order to put together a technical report that will release to the market that will tell you exactly what we're going to produce, what the costs are, what the mining costs, the haulage costs, the processing costs. We'll have that out before the end of the year. However, if we just look at what the mine did historically, so 1,000,000 pounds has been produced out of this mine to date. We still have a resource of 8.8 million pounds in the indicated and inferred categories. But based on historic production rates at Tony M only, we could do somewhere between 500 and 750,000 pounds per year. And when we layer on Daneros and Rim, the other mines that you mentioned, those mines could do somewhere around 250,000 pounds per mine. Again, this is based on historic actual production rates. So together, when all three of those mines are up and running, we'll be looking at somewhere between, I would say, 1,000,000 and 1,150,000 pounds of uranium per annum. The money that we earn from that, and we're going to talk about the market later on, and we think prices could be much higher when we bring these assets to market and start producing. Those funds will be used to develop our other projects, particularly Hurricane. Again, we're going to talk about that shortly, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. That's for sure. Okay, super. So everything is in good shape, and that would mean that by next year onwards, you really would start uranium mining.
Yeah, look, our goal will be to be shipping ore in the first half of next year. We're sending the ore to the Energy Fuels White Mesa mill. That's a mill that, if the viewers aren't familiar with, that's the only licensed and operable conventional mill in the United States. Energy Fuels has been operating that that mill for many years, and they're great operators. And so we'll be sending ore there. They're going to turn that mill on or bring it back into production for new ore for some of their own mines towards the second half of the year this year, and then we'll bring our mines online first half of next year.
Okay, super, perfect. And I think then the uranium price is probably above $120, $150 per pound, and we're all gonna have a lot of fun.
Yeah, look, and that's really the idea with these projects. These are very flexible mines that we can turn on and off quite quickly, and the idea would be that we can deliver production into price spikes as they happen. I agree with you. I think prices could go very, very high in the next sort of 6 to 12 months. We'd like to be delivering pounds into that rising market, of course, but then ultimately wherever the price settles, it's still going to be significantly higher than we are today.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, super. Then let's come to your news from 4th June, there, where you said, okay, you started already a planned 30-hole summer exploration program in the Athabasca Basin. I think it is about the Larocque East project, where is the majority of those drillings, and also at the East Rim. So, how is it going? And have you started, of course?
Yeah, look, we've started. We're about halfway through the program.
Wow.
It's going really well. In fact, I got an update yesterday from our team. We're actually more productive at a lower cost in terms of the number of meters drilled and the cost per meter than we expected to be. So
Hmm.
that's good. That's the good news. More good news is that we're drilling multiple target areas along strike to the east of the Hurricane deposit. Again, just to remind everyone, our Hurricane deposit is approximately 50 million pounds of uranium at 34.5% grade. That ranks it as the highest grade deposit in the world, an order of magnitude higher than the global resource average grade. We discovered Hurricane in 2018, drilled off that resource, put that resource out in 2022. And now the goal is really to find extension zones to the east along strike from Hurricane on our 100% owned ground. We have four target areas named Area A, B, C, and D that we're
Hmm.
drilling this year. We're completing additional geophysics on the eastern side of our property, and potentially could identify some other targets that we'll try to test also this summer. So we're about halfway through the program, as I said, and I expect to have an update to the market around the end of July or early August.
Okay, super. So that's quite soon. That is the next 4 to 6 weeks. Fantastic. I think you have used the ANT geophysical survey technique. How does that help you, let's say, to save costs and to speed things up? And what will you do with that in the future?
Yeah, exactly. Good point. And so when I talk about the areas A, B, C, and D,
Hmm.
those are target areas generated from those ANT surveys. And really, what the ANT survey does, it helps us zero in on areas that are known that we expect to have what's known as alteration. And around these high grade deposits in the Athabasca Basin, there's an alteration halo. So the rocks around them look different from the regular rocks that you find in the basin because of the hydrothermal fluids that flowed through the system. They altered those rocks, to put it simply. And you can tell just by visually looking at those rocks at the drill core whether you're in alteration or not. Historically, we had no tool to identify where that alteration is along the prospective conductive corridor. The ANT survey now zeroes you in on those areas. And then
Hmm.
within those areas, so that's where we focus our drilling, again, looking for additional pods of mineralization.
Okay, super. When I look at your world map of projects you are owning, you have just added the Bullier River acquisition. So why have you bought that also in addition? Because you have so many projects. What was the purpose of that?
Yeah, look, we have an exploration focus in our DNA. So our team of geologists have decades of experience, particularly exploring the Athabasca Basin.
Mhm.
And we're always going to be opportunistic in trying to find new projects for the pipeline. Excuse me. And and because we're thinking beyond hurricane. Obviously, that is the focus of the company. But where we have opportunities to pick up projects that are prospective in the right areas, we're going to do that. Again, it's really to build up a pipeline of future discovery potential projects, and so that's where Bilia fits. And what I would remind viewers of is, yes, we have hurricane, and that's extraordinary, but we have a large portfolio of projects on the eastern side of the basin that, quite frankly, haven't seen a lot of exploration work over the past 5 or 6 years because all of the funds have been exclusively focused on hurricane. That project portfolio, exploration project portfolio, I would stack up against any other explorer in the basin. And over time, we're going to advance those projects to drill ready targets. As you said, we're going to drill some holes at East Rim this year,
Mhm.
looking for the next discovery. I think we have some of the best ground and an exceptional team. And so we definitely want to leverage that.
Okay, super. Let's come shortly back to hurricane because we are again talking about it. Because there's just one question comes to my mind. If I look at your presentation at the map, there is then really Larocque East. There is the borderline going through with the Dawn Lake project, which is controlled by Cameco and Orano. So it looks to me like that this Dawn Lake joint venture is here really like mirrored from Hurricane. So would it make sense to spin together with Cameco Orano?
Absolutely, and really, that's a big part of the story of what's happening up around hurricane. So we made the discovery on our side of the border, and as you say, we've drilled, and in fact, the best part of the deposit sits right on that property border. Since we made that discovery, Cameco and Orano have come in on their side
Mhm.
and are drilling that side of the border. In fact, I think that the exploration program that they're doing on that side of the border this year is the largest exploration program in the Cameco of that Cameco is doing on any of their projects worldwide, and they're doing that for a reason. They're getting very similar results to what we have on our side of the border. They've put some disclosure out recently. They're getting drill results over 60% uranium in on their side of the border. We don't know exactly how big it is yet or what they have there, but I think we're going to know in short order. And when we do, that's when I think it makes sense to start some conversations and think about, hey, how these projects should probably be developed together. What is that going to look like? And of course, our goal will be to maximize the value for ISO shareholders in whatever form that takes.
Okay, super. Let's come to Coles Hill because I found that also really interesting. It is the largest undeveloped uranium deposit in the US, as you alluded to in your presentation. But what I find also really interesting is I think in Virginia they have the most and the largest, aside of Georgia, nuclear power reactors in the US. So that would make really sense if this would really be developed and brought into production, wouldn't it?
No, you're 100% right. Virginia has a number of nuclear reactors today, and just recently, the governor Glenn Youngkin signed a an RFP for small modular reactors in
Exactly. Yeah.
the state. They're going all in on nuclear power, and then, as you say, we have in that state the largest undeveloped uranium project in the country.
Mhm.
Um, the challenge here, Jochen, and just to be completely forthright, is that dating back to the 1980s, a ban on uranium mining is in place in Virginia. And Virginia, as a state, controls mining. So they have the primacy around regulating mining. And that ban was put in place, just so to be perfectly clear, the ban was put in place in order to enact uranium mining regulations. That never happened because uranium prices were too low, and there wasn't a requirement. There was no reason to move the project ahead, so the regulations didn't get in place. Fast forward to today, with the dynamics that we're seeing in the U.S. market, of course, with the ban on Russian fuel and the size of the domestic nuclear reactor fleet and the large requirement for uranium and really the desire to have a significant amount of that come from domestic sources, the Coles Hill project would be overlooked if we don't make some progress and try to move that ahead. That project could deliver a significant amount of production to the country on the order of magnitude of 3 to 5 million pounds per year, maybe even more, and that would be the biggest mine in the country. I think it could be an important project for the country, particularly when the ban comes in. And so we're working with local and state politicians and lobbyist groups to try to make progress and get those regulations put in place.
Okay, interesting. So that's a lot of short-term future potential, I would call it.
Yeah,
Great. Let's talk a bit more global because you have also exploration projects in Argentina and in Queensland and South Australia. Let's start with Argentina. What is going on there? And maybe on a side note, will you now more concentrate a bit on the US and Canada because of the situation there with the ban of Russian uranium, or do you say no? You know what? We that's the focus there, but we also do something in Argentina and in Australia.
yeah. Look, I think that the We like Argentina. It's geologically very prospective. The new government that's come in is very pro development, pro business, pro mining. However, when we look at our portfolio and the way it's constructed today, and really this idea that we want to focus on the best jurisdictions in the world, Western world, so being Canada, the United States, and Australia, Argentina doesn't totally fit. If you think about, and if you've been following our company for a while, I think what we've been able to do quite successfully now a couple of times is divest assets in a value enhancing way. We did it with Labrador Uranium, which became Latitude Uranium, and now ultimately is inside of AthaEnergy. And we did it not too long ago with a company called Premier American Uranium.
Mhm.
So I would think when I look at those assets, I'm looking at opportunities to extract realize value for them, stay involved in some way because again we love the prospectivity down there, but ultimately we don't think those assets completely fit with the rest of the portfolio. In
Mhm.
Australia, it's a different story. Australia, we really believe in the future for Australia, and increasingly, opposition politicians are talking about nuclear power in Australia,
Yeah.
which is something that you wouldn't have even imagined several years ago. It was a country that just had no appetite for nuclear power. That's changing, and we know why because nuclear power makes a lot of sense. But as that changes, I think that Australia will open up more broadly across different states that haven't had a pro uranium mining stance, and I think we're well positioned today, and I think there's opportunities to become even more strongly positioned in that country. So that's how I would characterize both our Australian and our Argentina projects.
Okay, super. Let's talk shortly about the market. We have already touched on a bit the ban of Russian uranium. Now telex, the date really matured. I think even yesterday, with the forward sale of uranium, 3 years you have to pay in advance. Then the second thing is in approximately 4 weeks there is the maturity on the exemptions on the waiver on Russian uranium. What is your view onto that? Aren't we in front of a perfect storm for higher prices?
Look, it seems that way. I think the one thing I would say is that and those items that you mentioned are all true, but I think there's still some uncertainty about what the implications of all of that's going to be. And in this market, particularly, uncertainty means that people, that particularly the buyers, utilities, that is, just sit on their hand and they want us they want to understand exactly what's going on. So as some of these items unfold and we know exactly how the waivers are going to
Mhm.
be achieved, then that's going that will be a catalyst to move the utilities to action. I think, but forgetting that aside, and here we are in the middle of the summer, and so you wouldn't necessarily expect a really active market, although anything can happen any day of a week in this space that causes it to go up or down. Just a couple of 2 weeks ago, we had the Kazakhstan news about the tax increases for uranium mining,
Yep.
took all the stocks higher. We're going to get different items that come out like that. But the fundamental picture here is we have a structural deficit. We have a long-term contracting cycle that needs to start, and we have uranium production that is going to come online. But if we just look at history as a guide, uranium mines never come on as fast or at the rates that are predicted. It just doesn't happen that way. So we're going to get more supply online, and that's great, and we need that for the industry. But it's going to be slower. It's going to be higher cost, and so it's going to continue. It's going to keep the market very tight and ultimately drive prices higher, in our view.
Absolutely. And that helps, of course, also IsoEnergy. Fantastic. So you said in the next 4 to 6 weeks, we will see the first results from the exploration program. And you are halfway through already. So that's over 5,000 meters you drilled then.
Yeah, that's right. So we'll have some news out of the United States on the reopening of the Tony M mill or the Tony M project, and give you some ideas of where we are and future
Mhm.
activities there, and results out from Canada in
Super.
Larocque East.
Perfect. That sounds like a good summer, I would say. The temperature is already great, but now also good news from you guys. I like it. Perfect. That's how it should be. And maybe one last question. I saw also you have a lot of analysts which are covering you, like price targets between 5.50 and $8. That's perfect. I have also from my side, a price target easily on the more $7 to $8 side, I would say. But who are now the largest shareholders, and what is cash in the bank? Meaning, it looks to me like you guys are well financed, right?
Yeah, perfect. That's a good point to touch on. I think ISO is quite unique in the industry in terms of our shareholder register. We
Mm-hmm.
have two corporates on our register. NextGen Energy owns about 33% of our stock. Energy Fuels owns almost 5% of our stock. So very tightly controlled in that sense. And then we have a number of well-known institutions that are focused on the uranium space in the company. Sachem Cove and Mega Uranium combined would own about 5% of the company. We're well held by the ETFs, and then a lot of institutional investors around the world are also in the company. In terms of our balance sheet, we have over $50 million in cash today. We have almost $20 million in equity securities. So we're very well funded for the programs this year and beyond.
Super. Perfect. It was a great final sentence. I would say we touch again base when you have all the news out, and also when we see it's going clearly to production here. And yeah, wish you so far a great summer. Phil, all the best, and thank you very much for your time.
You as well. Thank you, Jochen. Great talking to you again.
Good talking to you. Thank you. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was Phil Williams, the CEO of IsoEnergy, and you heard it. Everything is really on the run here. The drills are turning, and they are even turning faster and with more success and more efficiency than they thought. They already have done over 5,000 meters in the drill program, and the materials, of course, already into the labs. And yeah, we will see hopefully very good news again from the company. And what I really like is they are on the path to really restart the production in the US, and this is what I want to see, because then you have cash flowing projects, and probably then at uranium prices which are well above $120 per pound, that finances the company on the one hand, and on the other hand, it really gives a lot of security and risk downwards, and a lot of diversification for us shareholders. This is how it should be. The guys have done everything right. Make sure you own some IsoEnergy. I do, definitely. So thanks for watching us, and bye-bye from Austria today.